Сильно въебало, ребята. Ебать. Ну нахуй я пора.
A massive Ukrainian drone strike targeted the Arkita railway station in the town of Frolovo in Russia's Volgograd Oblast overnight, causing rail travel disruptions and temporarily closing a regional airport. Volgograd Oblast is located some 900 kilometers, 560 miles, southeast of Moscow and nearly 120 kilometers, 75 miles, east of the border with Ukraine, next to the almost completely occupied Luhansk Oblast. Independent media outlet Astra reported that a fire broke out at the Arkita railway station. Volgograd Oblast Governor Andrei Bocharov claimed that drones targeted transport and energy facilities in the oblast, and as a result, rail traffic in the Frolovo district has been restricted, describing the attack as massive. Russian Railways, the state-owned railway operator, also reported a suspension of train services in Frolovo. Russia's defense ministry claimed that a total of 61 Ukrainian drones were shot down over various regions of the country overnight. Ukraine's military rarely comments on drone strikes on Russian territory, although it has regularly targeted the region with drones. Fuel depots, rail infrastructure, and ammunition stockpiles inside Russia and occupied territories have increasingly become targets for long-range drone and missile strikes. In recent weeks, Ukraine has struck other Russian railway stations in the region. Overnight, July 29th, Ukrainian drones targeted a railway station in the town of Salsk in Rostov Oblast, causing a fire. A series of drone attacks targeted industrial facilities in Russia's Ryazan, Penza, Samara, and Voronezh Oblasts overnight on August 2nd, Ukraine's general staff reported. Two oil tanks were destroyed in Adler. Cyberbaroshno analyzed that Ukrainian drones struck two fuel tanks at the fuel complex of Bazovi Aviapalivny Operator, which handles aviation fuel services at Sochi Airport. A key factor in the current water crisis in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions is the collapse of the existing water infrastructure, in which at least 50% of the already limited supply of water is lost through leaks. People are now reduced to collecting water from the streets. As previously reported, the occupied eastern regions of Ukraine are undergoing a catastrophic shortage of water that Russian commentators have called a water genocide, caused by war, mismanagement, and corruption by the Russian-installed authorities. The water infrastructure installed by Ukraine before the Russian takeover in 2014 has become dilapidated due to neglect and theft from maintenance budgets. Reservoirs are empty and groundwater is undrinkable due to iron contamination from the region's abandoned mines. Here, water can be seen running down the middle of Donetsk city's Projektornaya Saint and from under an apartment building in Chernigovskaya Saint. The head of the Donetsk People's Republic government, Denis Pushilin, says that 76% of pipes need repairs and replacement. The DPR occasionally mounts blitzes of pipe repairs to eliminate leaks, 809 over 3 weekends in May 2025 alone. However, it's clear that this is wholly inadequate for resolving the infrastructure problems, which will likely require billions of dollars to fix. Pilots of the 54th Mechanized Brigade's Incognito Group repelled an assault by Russian motorized units in the Seversk direction. The 54th Mechanized Brigade's Incognito Group operates in one of the most volatile sectors of the front, Seversk, a strategic point in Donetsk Oblast. This area has witnessed intense clashes in recent months, as Russian forces continue their push to encircle Ukrainian positions and threaten logistics routes leading towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. The 54th has been deeply involved in the defense of this region, especially near the forest belts and elevated terrain around Verkhnyo-Kamyansky and Spirne. These zones offer natural defensive advantages, which Ukrainian infantry and drone units have learned to exploit with deadly efficiency. Ukraine's growing edge in drone warfare has significantly shaped the dynamics in this sector. FPV drones, operated by groups like Incognito, are being used not only for precision strikes on infantry and vehicles, but also to detect movements, destroy logistics nodes, and jam Russian advances before they gather momentum. In recent engagements, drones have played a decisive role in repelling Russian assaults, targeting armored columns and supply vehicles with pinpoint accuracy. This shift allows smaller Ukrainian units to hold ground more effectively against numerically superior forces. The combination of terrain familiarity, tactical discipline, and drone superiority has turned Seversk into a grinder for Russian mechanized units, stalling their progress and inflicting high casualties. Trump has made it clear it is unacceptable for India to keep financing the war by buying oil from Russia, according to Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
Europe. So what he said very clearly is that it is not acceptable for India to continue financing this war by purchasing the oil from Russia. People will be shocked to learn that India is basically tied with China in purchasing Russian oil.
The Russian army plans to expand its use of temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories, including the Donetsk airport area, for drone strikes, according to the Institute for the Study of War. According to ISW, placing Shahed launch sites closer to the front line reduces the response time of Ukrainian air defense. Analysts believe that further territorial gains by Russian forces will pose an increasing threat not only to Ukraine, but also to NATO member states. Earlier, the OSINT group Cyberbaroshno released satellite images of the airport in northern occupied Donetsk, dated July 2025. The images show that Russian forces have partially cleared the Donetsk airport runway of fortifications and have begun construction work in the parking area. Satellite imagery indicates that Russian forces are constructing enclosed storage facilities near the destroyed airport terminal. These may also be intended for establishing drone control stations, warhead unloading zones, airspace monitoring points, and a functional runway. The airport infrastructure is likely being prepared for the launch of Shahed-type strike drones, Gerbera decoy drones, and possibly Geran-3 jet-powered UAVs. ISW analysts believe that relocating long-range drone launch platforms closer to the front line will reduce the response time for Ukrainian air defenses. Russian forces have been launching long-range strike drones from occupied Ukraine, and Russia's continued use of occupied Ukraine for such strikes will increasingly threaten Ukraine and NATO states if Russia continues to occupy Ukrainian territory, the report states. Recently, First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Digital Transformation Mikhailo Fedorov said on national television that the Russian army is already integrating systems that allow Shahed drones to evade Ukrainian interceptors. He noted that the Russian forces may soon switch to jet-powered drones, meaning Ukraine must urgently work on countermeasures. The Russian and Chinese navies are carrying out artillery and anti-submarine drills in the Sea of Japan as part of scheduled joint exercises, Reuters reported, citing the Russian Pacific Fleet Command. The Joint Task Force includes a large Russian anti-submarine ship, 2 Chinese destroyers, and diesel-electric submarines from both countries, as well as a Chinese submarine rescue vessel. The drills include artillery firing, anti-submarine warfare, air defense, and search and rescue operations. These maneuvers are part of the planned Maritime Interaction 2025 exercise and are expected to conclude on August 5th.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.